So this presentation today is for the Summer Health Professions Education Program, and also it's been known by other names in the past. So the first part, the agenda, is basically going to be covering the freshman sophomore program, which is SHPEP or SMDEP or SHPEP. And then we're going to go into a second part, which is for those, let's say, folks interested in going into a summer program that are not freshmen, sophomores. And so we'll be talking about those programs very quickly. So let me go ahead and get started with the beginning. We want to also do our land acknowledgement. So we respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is a home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being the home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build a sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. So we're very fortunate to be on indigenous lands. So this is the agenda for today. It's the Summer Health Professions Education Program, SHPEP, and also summer engagement opportunities for those students beyond their sophomore years. So the first part is going to be focused on the freshman sophomore program. And then after that, I'm going to focus on the other summer programs. And so at the end, what we like to do is to have most of the program really devoted to our panelists. And we have some great panelists who've done both the freshman sophomore program and also did other programs such as Blazer or UROC or those other programs. So this is the staff we have today, and we're very fortunate. We're hardworking. These workshops are very helpful because we can outreach to a variety of different populations about programs. Many of you might have attended our BLAST event. This series of workshops is really our ambassador, our health professions ambassador workshop series. So this is something that we get asked all the time about summer programs, but we have Ethan Bull, and we also have Lauren Mosley, and then Nettie Gupta, unfortunately can't be with us today, but she's also a PreHealth advisor. We serve about 12,000 students on campus, about 400 that are actively ready to apply to a health profession. So we cover graduate level health professions. And I'm Josephine Jen Morgan. I coordinate the PreHealth Professions program. I might have met with you. We are very active in student orientations and other programs and clubs. So you'll see us and we're very visible. So in addition to your major advisors, you'll work with us as your PreHealth advisors. So I welcome you here today. We also have, as I mentioned, this is a workshop series of our PreHealth Professions ambassadors, which will be going through a selection process. We'll be identifying those students who are interested in applying to be an ambassador. So keep a watch out. In February, the application will open up. And these are the type of things that we have our ambassadors do. Many of our ambassadors have done many different summer programs. We're going to tap into them also, in addition to our invited guest panelists. And so many of them have experienced this, and they're a good source to talk to about options and opportunities and things like that. So they are our right-hand people in order to get in touch with so many students that we have on this campus. So we're going to talk about the Summer Health Professions Education Program. And this is straight out of the main office, which is the AAMC. It's the national program that oversees this program, that oversees all the medical schools in the US and Canada. And so it's a really wonderful program. We've been involved with this program for over 20 years. It's changed through different renditions of it. And so you might have heard that we talked about it during orientation for those freshmen that are attending. It's a 6-week summer program. And this year, the exciting thing, you know, aside from COVID, they're going to do the program in person. The past 2 summers have been virtual, but it is going to be in person. But it's a 6-week summer program only open to freshmen, sophomores. And that's your classification as of the time that you apply this fall. So if you're considered a junior, then unfortunately you would not be considered for this program. But you can always come in and talk to us. We can talk about what your other options are, or if you do qualify. And for those folks that are attending this workshop today, for those that are here and attending the workshop, we're going to offer those freshmen, sophomores letters of recommendation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that because this process, this application process is modeled after the medical school application And we want to be there to help you. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we talk about letters. So it does have a really rich history. And I've been involved since the beginning of time, so I'm really old, but I have seen it as the Minority Medical Education, MMEP, and then it was a summer medical education program. Again, it was focused only on medicine. And then it became the summer medical dental education. So then they included dentistry. But then in 2016, they opened it up to all these other health professions. One of our panelists is a physical therapist first year at Northeastern. And so they opened it up to PT students and pharmacy students. And so not only just medicine and dentistry, but other professions. And so that was really exciting. So now it is the summer health education program. And these are the different tracks that it has. And I noticed when I was looking at the list, and I did ask the national office, why is physician assistant not on there? They alternate years. And so this is the year that they're not going to include physician assistants, but they do. So the Western University in California covers the PA program. And so these are the programs that are going to be covered for this coming summer of 2022. And these are the sites. It is so exciting. These are 12 sites across the country. And so Columbia in New York, Howard, Rutgers, Alabama, UCLA, Florida, Iowa, Louisiana or Louisville, Nebraska, Texas at Houston, University of Washington, and Western University of the Health Sciences. So these are 12 sites across the country. So what are the benefits of this? As I mentioned, if you qualify, they will pay you, they will fly you out, and you actually earn a stipend. So they'll cover your housing, your meals, and your travel. And so really probably the key piece of this is that you're on that campus with those folks in medical school, dental school, pharmacy, and physician assistant, and also physical therapy. And so these are the programs where you're on that campus surrounded by those health profession students and the professors that teach them, and you get a real firsthand look of what it means to be, let's say, a first year health profession student. The criteria is that you must be a high school graduate, currently enrolled as a freshman or sophomore. And again, that is your classification as of when you apply. So fall right now, if you had dual enrollment, those courses come in, it's counted towards your classification. So you can apply if you're a freshman or sophomore. A minimum GPA is a 2.5. You must be a US citizen, permanent resident. Also DACA students can also apply, and you must not have previously applied. So a lot of times students who don't get in the first time, their freshman year, they will reapply as a sophomore. As I mentioned, it's really modeled after the medical school application. So this is the piece where don't get discouraged if you don't get in, right? What was it about your application that maybe you didn't get in? And that's where you come and talk to us. And we can talk about what are the possibilities of why it is that you're reapplying. Sometimes it's just the sheer numbers. Sometimes it's just they have so many applicants, and typically about 5,000 to 6,000 students apply. And then of the 12 sites, they only select 80 students at each one of the sites. So it is competitive, but there's keys to writing this application and how to be competitive. And so we're going to give you that inside scoop. Other factors that they're looking at, this program really is designed to increase the diversity in the health professions. And so they're encouraging those students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, maybe coming from a rural setting, first generation in their family to go to college, underrepresented. And so those individuals definitely they're looking for, but anybody can apply for this program. And so you want to make sure that your application is competitive. You want to talk to us about that. But they are looking to diversify the pipeline into the health professions. So, and demonstrating that you're interested in working with underserved population or populations that lack access. So if you come from Douglas or Morenci or, you know, in the rural area, San Luis, you know, in near Yuma, you have a different experience than those that live in Tucson or Phoenix. And so, but if you're interested in, you know, serving those populations where there's lack of access, health disparities, so definitely you want to apply. And then you'll be submitting a personal statement and strong letter of recommendation. And we're going to talk about that in more detail and how you leverage that and what makes a good letter and what makes a good personal statement. So some of the activities at each site, and what you want to do is take a look at the site, and on the bottom left-hand corner is SHPEP.org. That is their website. It'll list all 12 sites, and each program has a different start and stop date. So if it is that you're thinking about a summer program or taking classes, and let's say you pick a program that doesn't start until July, you could take a first summer session. So those are things, they have different start and stop dates. So take a look at that, and also different focuses on their campuses. They can be focused on academic enrichment, basic sciences or math, career development. You'll hear from our panelists what their sites offered at the time that they attended. They do workshops on financial planning. So it isn't just getting into your health profession, but how do you pay for it? Interprofessional. So those students interested in medicine, maybe they said, hey, I'm really interested in medicine, but you know, you're working side by side with an applicant who wants to go to pharmacy. And we've had like medicals, you know, pre-med students work with pre-dental students, and they really get an insight on what it means to go into those other health professions. So that it gives you opportunities, not just to be siloed into your own health profession of medicine, but maybe you're thinking about physical therapy, or you're thinking about any other program in the health professions, because you don't have to know what you want to go into. This is also a time where you can explore. So the National SHPEP office, they announced that those students applying for the summer program, and if they're fully accepted, must be vaccinated. So there are some criteria once you've been, you know, approved. So they're holding to those guidelines. So the impact of COVID-19, again, past 2 summers, it was completely virtual. I don't think on this panel we have anybody that did the virtual program this year or last year, but most of the other panelists have done it in person. So it's going back into person. So before you apply, things that you might want to consider, and this is kind of a screenshot of that website, which is shpep.org. You'll see that it has a list of different the sites like Columbia, and then you'll see where the dates are TBA. They might have the dates already selected, but you might want to take a look in there, and then you can decide, you know, learn more about the 12 different sites. Check out the health professions at each one of those sites. So if you're exploring like pharmacy and medicine, maybe you want to go to a site that has both, or pharmacy, medicine, and dentistry. You might want to check that out. And then learn more about the stipends. You know, what do they pay? How do they cover that? And then review each site's COVID policy. And again, I want to stress that this is modeled after the medical school application. So at the point where you're applying, you're going to be selecting 3 different sites that you want to apply to. So you don't want to apply to 3 high-end schools that are very competitive, like let's say Columbia, UCLA, and University of Washington. Those are always really popular. You want to spread the places that you want to apply to. For instance, we have a very close partnership with the University of Iowa. And so they actually reserve seats for our Arizona students, and they love Arizona students. So if you're applying and then you find out, okay, I'm on a wait list, and you apply to University of Iowa, we can call them and say, hey, what's happening with this application? You know, they're on a wait list. How does it look right now? But if you don't apply to that site, you can't apply for it later. So you want to make sure that, you know, you spread yourself as far as the schools that you select, and what are the attributes of those sites that really draws you to that area. I know that Columbia is very popular, very competitive, but boy, once you get in, you know, if you've never been to New York or, you know, traveled, and we have many students who have never traveled before, it is an experience. So required application materials. So applicants can submit 1 application only. And as I mentioned, you select 3 program sites. You must get an official transcript. So here's the thing. As the semester winds down, as you're filling out this application, one thing that comes up often, and there's nothing that we can do about it, If you have a balance on your bursar's account, you cannot order transcripts. And we've had students have to withdraw their applications or not apply because there was a balance on their bursar's account that they didn't get paid. So you want to make sure that, because if you don't get a transcript, you don't get reviewed, because they have to have those transcripts, and they cannot be unofficial. They have to be official transcripts where you go to the registrar and order them and tell them to send it to the SHPEP office, and then they match up your application. So that's one of the biggest criteria I think that I've seen where students had to back off because they had a balance on their account. So make sure that your bursar's account is up to date so you can send out transcripts. And they'll ask for one official one. The other thing that they require, aside from the application, is one letter of recommendation. So this is where we are telling you, if you are here today and you're interested in this process of applying to SHPEP, we will write your letter of recommendation. This is an exception. Our general rule is that if we don't know you, we will not write you a letter for medical school or dental school unless we know you outside the classroom or where we have taught you in a class. So, but this is the exception. If you're here today and participating, then we will write that letter. So we'll set up an appointment and we'll sit down, do a brief interview. We have you go through all the motions, bring in your resume, you know, the questions on the application. It's going to ask you some questions or essays to write. We want you to bring those in, and so that we can take a look at them. You'll be developing something similar to a personal statement, not the full-blown one, but it's one saying, why are you a good fit for this program? Why do you want to go to this program? And so we want to sit down and talk to you. And so we're not just going to do the regular checkoff list, right? There's a form that gets printed out, and you can give it to one of us, and it tells us, okay, communication, what about the student's communication? And it gives a ranking. We'll actually write a letter for you, and that's a basis. And some of our panelists, I've written their letters when they applied to medical school because I knew them all 4 years or 5 years, not only just SHPEP, but beyond that. Maybe they became an ambassador for our program. So there's a lot of benefits in doing that. And I know it's really scary sometimes for freshmen to ask people to get letters of recommendation. But again, this is modeled after the application. You're going to have to ask for letters. So we're giving you that opportunity to develop that relationship with our office and with our PreHealth advisors. So an application is marked complete only after all required application materials have been processed to the national office. So just keep that in mind: transcripts, letters, recommendation, and then you'll be working on the application. So how should the applicants complete their application? There's no real order. Some students just open it up, take a look at it. They start in the beginning, but it's again modeled after the medical school application. You're probably not going to get it all done in one night, and you don't want to, because you want to make sure that it really reflects who you are, and also that every piece of the application is done thoroughly and that you thought about it. But, you know, transcripts can be sent first, the application submitted after, recommendations can arrive after that, but there is a deadline where everything has to be in. Don't wait until the last minute to get things in. Be sure to start your application. I encourage that you work on it over winter break. And then that way you can get feedback and also really think about what you're putting on this application. So it isn't something that you're going to do in just one night. Sending official transcripts. So it's just, you know, the nuts and bolts. They'll tell you how to do it, where to send it. And the deadline, it has to be stamped or postmarked by February 5th, sooner than better. The transcripts, again, must be, the transcript will be unofficial, will not be processed. So again, they can't be unofficial transcripts. They have to be official transcripts, and one copy, and it's sent to the office. So letters of recommendation, there's two formats. As I mentioned, there's a recommendation form. It's just a checkoff list, and then there's a small comment section. For this offer that we're giving, we'll actually write you a letter, not only just a checkoff, but you can also get a actual letter of recommendation. So those are the two options that you have: a signed letter of recommendation on official letterhead. And this is also something modeled after the medical school, is that when you get a letter of recommendation, it should say the University of Arizona or let's say it's Banner Hospice or whatever, but it has to be on letterhead. It cannot be on a blank sheet of paper saying you're a wonderful person. You want to make sure that it is on letterhead, and complete that information and get it sent in. And there's the email for them, and then their physical location. So definitely provide your, recommender. Again, we write a lot of letters, and so you want to make sure that you give enough time to that letter writer, and plus you want to make that appointment and sit with us to talk about that letter and get to know you, right? And understand why it is that you want to go to this program. How's it a good fit for you? How's it for a good fit for the school? And what will you gain from it? So provide that letter writer a resume. Go to Career Services. They're like on the 3rd floor. We're in the Bartlett building. So, utilize those U of A resources. Also, there's like the Writing Skills Improvement Program over on University and Park, which you can make an appointment to talk about maybe writing your essays. You also maybe want to bring it into us. So your resume, your personal statement, I always like to see how you responded to the prompts that were in the application. If they're asking you a diversity question or why do you want to do this program, we want to see how you responded, because we want our letter to also complement what you already said. And then provide any information that is uniquely different about you. If you can bullet point it, if you're first in your family go to college, if you come from a rural community, anything that's uniquely different about you that you might want us to know. And then update your letter writer and remind them. And I tell my students all the time, don't feel bad. This is really important to you. If your letter has not gotten submitted from us, and it's like late January and the deadline's like Feb 1, put a fire under us, send us an email, remind us. And I welcome that, because a lot of times things get really busy, but we want to make sure that we get that letter in for you. And don't feel bad that you're going to, hurt our feelings or anything, but it's really important to you. And again, this is modeled after the medical school application. It's important to you, so feel free to follow up with your letter writers. The personal statement, they really want to know what is your personal background, your interests, experiences that influenced your decision to pursue a career in the health professions. Maybe it was a grandparent that had diabetes, you took them to the, doctor's office. Maybe you were a translator for your family, the experience that you might have had with your family or outside. Maybe you volunteered in high school. And then what program sites you know about that has not been disclosed in any part of the application. Sharing your interests and experience is really important. They want to hear your story and why it is that you want to do this program. Always look at the description of the program. So when their homepage, read what it is that they're trying to look for in a student. As they mentioned, they're looking for students who are, let's say, economically disadvantaged. If you had financial hardships, if you experienced health disparities, things like that, you want to talk about your experience. So the personal statement tips, so check for grammatical structure, always check it. I check it for content, but I'll always send it to Ethan and say, Ethan, check it for grammatical structure, rip into it. Because again, when you apply to your professional school, they don't want to see typos or grammar, issues. So this is a nice, precursor to what will happen in the future for anything else. Utilize those resources on campus. So have somebody else read it, review the word count. When they say 600, they mean 600. Do not go over that. And express who you are. You're not going to be an applicant like anybody else. And so you need to be able to tell your story, and these are things, again, you can't do overnight. So write about it, walk away, come back. And then also, again, this program really is focusing on diversity in the healthcare professions. Look at their mission statement and see what it is. If you're applying to multiple health profession tracks, be sure to speak about those in your statement. So if you're thinking physical therapy, not just medicine, then you want to talk about that. Application deadline is Feb 5th. And so by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time, everything must be postmarked by Feb 5th. Decisions will be released on March 15th. Program sites will be accepting students on their wait list beginning March 17th. So there's movement. Being on a wait list is not a bad thing. And actually, it's encouraging that they also figure that they're going to lose some students who may not go there, or a student might have gotten 3 acceptances and they decide to go to another one and the other 2 have to let go, and then they open up those wait lists. So that's how it kind of works. So checking your application, making sure that you start that, your transcripts and your letters, can't hammer that home enough. And the status of your application, these are the 3 different different statuses. When you log in, has not been received, received in processing, received and verified, and unofficial. So, keep looking in there to make sure that they do receive all your information. And then checking the status of your application materials after you've submitted them, making sure that they did get received. And there's their contact information. And they're really good about responding to email. And then this is what the view looks like for the complete application. So I'll just whiz through these real quick. Apply early. I mean, that just doesn't mean now, but forever. If you're applying to your health profession, you could be the most competitive applicant and you apply late. They've already interviewed people, so you're competing against, limited interview slots. So this process does not require an interview, but it really encourages you to understand, be early. Work on it over winter session, get things in, because things happen and you can't blame somebody else if it didn't get in. And then remind your letter writer, and then, make sure that your transcripts get sent. Those are probably 2 key pieces. So admissions deadline. So by March 17th, by March 15th, you can log in and see if you got any acceptances. And that's really an exciting time. And then this is University of Iowa. One of our little SHPEP people from Arizona is in here. We had actually 3 students at that time in 2019 get into Iowa. And they give you the white coat and everything. It's very exciting. So just to let you know, these are some of the panelists we have today. This is Ismael Miller. He's a 3rd year at the U of A College of Medicine, Tucson. He's going to be on our panel. We also have Brenda Valencia, who's also with the College of Medicine, Tucson. They both went to Columbia. Very exciting. They'll be on our panel. And then Marco is 1st year PT school at Northeastern. So we're excited about that. So he'll be on our panel. And then we have Kiana, and she went to the University of Houston in Texas. And back then it was the SMDEP, so it's just dental and medicine, but she's here with us today. So we're excited to have her. And Desiree, I didn't get your picture, but Desiree's here today. So she'll be on our panel too, and you'll get to see her face. We're going to do questions at the very end. So this is really the end of the SHPEP program. I'm going to go into now the programs that are after your sophomore year, or if you're not a sophomore, after that. Many of our panelists have gone into other programs. So we're going to be talking about the summer engagement opportunities beyond the 1st year or 2nd year. One that's very popular is Blazer, the Border Latino American and Indian Exposure to Research. Right now, the dates are TBA, but they've been kind of consistent with Frontera, which is another program I'll talk about. But last summer, it was June 7th through August 11th. It's a 10-week summer program. They cover the MCAT, the GRE, if you're doing PCAT. So they're working with all health profession students, but you're assigned to a researcher. You do a research presentation. Our panelists can talk about this too, because many of them did Blazer. But you're assigned a mentor. You learn about health disparities in Arizona. They do cover the MCAT. They've included now the PCAT and some of the other tests. So they help you with that. We provide the pre-health advising during the summer. They do trips around Arizona. They do provide a $3,000 stipend, and there's housing, or if you live locally. The past 2 summers, they did it virtually. I don't know if they're doing it in person this year, but this is contact information. Frontera, as I mentioned, usually coincides with Blazer. Also, for those students, for most not graduate level, But let's say summer program, you have to have generally a 3.0 to apply to these programs. Some of them do require that you have some science background before you take it. So again, if you're beyond your sophomore year, you've probably taken chemistry or biology. But there are some criteria, and on the slides that we have that we're sharing, you'll have that information. So Frontera is very popular also. And you earn course credit, you get a stipend, the best of both worlds if you're wanting to work and get a mentor and, you know, be at the health sciences. It really is a wonderful program. And it is full-time. They do ask you to be totally committed to the program. UROC is another group of programs out of the graduate college. And so they have different programs. And I teased out some of the programs where the dates have already expired, but these are the ones that are still available for this coming summer. And they do a centralized application. So SRI, the Summer Research Institute, Donna Traylor is the point person. Deadline is Feb 1st. There's UROC Prep, and Andrew Huerta is head of that program. And again, there's a link there that you can get information. They do focus on students that are thinking about professional school like MD. There are programs, and you should check if they're looking for MD, PhD students, because they may want maybe not just clinical, but want you to have research. So if you're interested in academic medicine, it might be something that you're interested in an MD, PhD program. This UROC Prep is focusing on MD, JD, and DBM. The MARC program, actually, I think last year we lost the program, but we got it back. So they're going to implement this one this summer. So maximizing access to research careers. They will work with MD, PhD students. So they actually bring in Michael Flynn, who covers the MCAT and prepares you to do that. And also understanding the health disparities, minority health, health access. So take a look at some of these programs and what they're offering. But many of them have Feb 1st deadlines. That means you got to work on it over the winter break and get it in. Don't wait until the end. But Cindy Neal is the one who runs this program. She's been doing that for years. UBERP, very popular. They also have a process. So UBERP is something, if you're interested in research, and many of our, pre-med students or pre-health students are interested in research. And so they welcome, those applicants Feb 1st, again, by 5 o'clock, because they do their selection in the spring so that they know what students are going to have in the summer. So the process happens pretty quickly once you submit your application. So Jennifer Cubetta is the one who runs this program. So this is the general UBERT program. Then they have one called NACP, the Native American Cancer Prevention program, and that's out of UBERT. Again, they have a Feb 1st deadline. This one, if you live in Phoenix, this is kind of cool because they love U of A students, but they have no residential piece to their program. So if you live in Phoenix, the SURF Plus program is a surgical undergraduate research fluency plus program. So you get to do research, you get to observe surgeries, you get to shadow residents, and this is their deadline. So as far as once you're accepted, applications will be available. They have a little later selection process. So take a look at that. But yeah, the benefit is if you're from Phoenix, this is very helpful. From Tucson, it'd be really hard. You have to arrange your own housing. Helios or TGen, we get a lot of students that apply to this one. So this application, you want to make sure that you meet all the qualifications for it, that you're eligible to work in the US, that you're a full-time student, university student, by the fall of, 22. So it's undergraduate, graduate, medical students are eligible. It's a pretty wide range program. So they accommodate a lot of different students. But they want to make sure that you're available for 40 hours. It's like a full-time job. So Helios is very popular. This one's exciting. This one's out of our office. For the past 2 summers, because of COVID, we weren't able to do it, but it's the Global Medcast. A couple of our panelists went through the Global Medcast at Costa Rica. This year, it's going to be hopefully in Spain. And so they're looking at tentative dates of July 9th through August 12th. You earn credit. It's faculty-led, so take a look at that. And then this one is a website. Actually, let me see if I, it lists, oops, let me go back. It lists all the programs under the AAMC. And so it lists all these summer programs, and they're really interesting. So if you can't find something that we just reviewed, and this is only the tip of the iceberg, there's so many summer programs that are out there, but many of them, the applications are opened up now. They're due in the spring. So you want to check them out, talk to people, but the AAMC has a huge list of programs that are available. So what we want to do now is bring our panelists. Let me go ahead and unshare my screen. And we're going to have our panelists tell us your name, and if you graduated, what major or what school you're at now, what your hometown, you know, how did you hear about whatever program you want to talk about, and then, you know, which site did you ultimately attend? And for those that are in like med school right now, third years, like, do I have to look back that far? I don't know if I remember, but try it. And so sites that you selected and why, and what was your best experience, and what was your most challenging experience, and what advice would you give to a student applying now? And has this experience prepared you for other opportunities? So let's see, that is what we have. Oh, let me put it up there, and then you guys can jot down notes if you need to. Let's do this. Oops. There are the questions. And I'm going to ask our ambassadors also if they wanted to chime in about their experiences, because I know some of our ambassadors have basically also done summer programs or currently doing, you know, full year programs. So let's start out with, on my screen, I have Kiana. Kiana, you go first.
Hi, everybody. I figured I was going to go first because my last name always happens. But my name is Kiana. I graduated from the U of A in 2018 with my bachelor's in science and physiology and a minor in gender and women's studies. I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona, born and raised there. And I currently actually live in Houston now, been here for about 3 years almost. And I attended the SMDEP site in 2015 at the site at where I work actually now. So in Houston, it was the University of Texas Health Science Center Medical School, but now it's called McGovern Medical School. And I heard about SMDEP through attending one of these actually, and working with Josie as my advisor all of undergrad. The 3 sites, if I can think back that far, I chose were Howard, Texas, and I want to say like UCLA or Alabama. I don't remember the third one, but ultimately, growing up in Tucson as a person of color, you know, I really wanted to get a different kind of cultural experience. So I decided to apply to programs that I figured would have, you know, different kinds of different settings, talking about health disparities, about minorities and things of that nature. My best experience, this is my first time away from home when I went to Houston by myself. So I loved it. I love the city. I love the diversity. I love the medical center. I loved it so much. I applied to do my master's here and I moved to Houston. And I've been here ever since. I would say the most challenging experience was definitely trying to take in everything that they offered because you learn so much. They give you like pre-science courses to help you navigate through your years. And I went as a freshman. So right after freshman year, I went to the program. And so I had never taken organic chemistry or physics or any of that. So it was a shock. So it was hard to take everything in, and they teach you about financial like aspects, different types of like healthcare. And at the time it was only medicine and dental. So nothing else until I guess a year after or so. But I had a really passionate interest on health promotion and behaviors and things of that nature. So that's why I decided to do my master's in public health surrounding health disparities, health promoting behaviors, and things of that nature. The advice I would give to students applying now is don't be discouraged. You are unique. I've been out of school for my undergrad for like, it's gonna be like 5 years, almost soon, 4 years. And I'm preparing to apply to medical school for the year of 2023. So it's not a race, it's a marathon, is what everybody always tells me. So definitely be optimistic. I only got into one of my programs that I applied to for SMDP. So even if it's just that one, just definitely take in everything that you can learn and networking is key. I still talk to a lot of people who are in medical school now or any kind of like medical profession from my program. I've had them help me like read my personal statement, give me advice on like study practices for the MCAT and things of that nature. So definitely take it all in and don't limit yourself.
Perfect, thank you. Desiree, you're on my screen next to Kiana.
Hey, hi, my name is Desiree Flores. I graduated from ASU with my bachelor's in science and applied biological science. And then my sophomore year is when I applied to SMDEP at Columbia University in 2015. I applied, the 3 schools I applied to was UC Davis, Duke, and then Columbia. So I got 2 acceptances. I got Duke and Columbia. And I was very like torn between the 2 because I saw now they don't, Duke's not on the list. But I was just very interested in Columbia. Like I want to work in with minority population, specifically the Native American population. And New York just has so much, like any walks of life is in New York City, and there's so many opportunities there and everything. And then let's see, how did I hear about the program? It was basically like through these programs. You do one program and then it leads you to the next one to do your next summer. So I did a program at University of Nevada in Las Vegas, and I actually got a mentor there. She was one of the directors or something like that. She had to do with SMDEP, and she basically made me apply. And like I'm always thankful for that she made me apply. And honestly, like just ask for help, because I don't think I would have gotten those 2 acceptances without help on my application, because it is a lot of essays, and you want to make sure you're getting your point across within the certain amount of words you have without getting too detailed. And also a big thing is grammar. And then my best experience would be, I mean, honestly, the whole program is a really good experience. You do, at least in the year I went, we did a lot of shadowing. We did the coursework. It was a lot of you got placed in classes that were your weakest. Because I remember my when I went to go pick up my schedule, I was like, oh, I hope I don't get physics and statistics. When I look at my schedule, there's physics and statistics. So I was like, oh man, those are like my weakest subjects. But that's what they're trying to help you with. They look at your transcript and see where you are succeeding and where you need help in. And those were my courses that I need help in. So it was nice to learn from actual Columbia University professors as well. My advice to give to students applying for, I would say just be you in your application. Because like how everyone's unique and we all have different stories and experiences, and we all bring like something to the table. And there was like at least in Columbia when I went, there was a range of students. There was people that were from Harvard, and there was people from community college in like New Jersey. So don't like be discouraged and don't doubt yourself, because your doubt can get the best of you if you let it.
Thanks, Desiree. Ismael, you're on my list there.
All right. Hi, everyone. Josie, can you hear me? I'm using these earphones.
I can.
things.
You sound good.
Perfect. So everyone, my name is Ismael Miller. I'm a third-year medical student here at UACOM-T. I am a U of A alum. I graduated, I think, in the fall of 2017. I studied physiology and creative writing. And I attended my hometown. I'm from Mesa, Arizona. Have been out here probably for the past 8 years in Tucson for school. And I attended SMDP in the year 2015. So I was with Desiree and Brenda, who you guys will hear from. So all the alum are here today. And I'm trying to remember the sites, Josie, that I picked. So Columbia, of course. I also picked Duke, similar to Desiree. I heard from an upperclassman when I was an undergraduate that Duke granted like interviews to students if you got into their SMD program. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put that on the list. And then I think I did Case Western as my backup, which is like not really a backup, but that was my thought process. And then in retrospect, I'm so glad I got into Columbia. So kind of a funny story, when I got rejected by Duke, I think Case Western put me on a wait list, and then Columbia accepted me right away. And I remember it was like really early in the morning and everyone in my house was sleeping. And I remember seeing me accepted by Columbia. And I remember going to my family and being like, oh, I got into Columbia, but I had no idea where it was, which I think to this day, I find that so crazy. But it ended up being in New York City, and it totally changed my life, I think, for the better. Like, I credit this program and experience for completely shifting the way I think about medicine, the way I see health disparities, representation in medicine. So if you guys are on the fence, I definitely recommend it over and over again. Please apply. It's there. I can assume every site is just as amazing, but Columbia especially was incredible just because of the diversity of the people that are in New York City and the students that they tend to attract. So I heard about the program similar to everyone else through Josie and through workshops similar to this. And then I would say, so my best experience at Columbia, I mean, the whole program, as I mentioned, was amazing. I would say probably the best was the white coat ceremony. So I think most of the programs are starting to do this, but they kind of walk you through a mock white coat ceremony where they give you a code, and a lot of the faculty members will come up and speak to you. I found this experience so inspirational, and the white coat ceremony was something I'd look forward to as a kid, like for as long as I can remember. So it was really cool to kind of run through that, and it was very identical to my actual one. So I really just think having that white coat in my closet going through the rest of undergrad and as I was applying through medical school kind of just kept me inspired and allowed me to continue to push forward, because times can definitely get rough during this journey. So things that you can kind of latch onto and find inspiration in are definitely important. And then would you recommend this program to another student? Absolutely. And I think the main thing, especially for students of color, I kind of credit SMDP. Was the first time where I really saw other students such as myself interested in medicine and in science and education such as myself. Growing up, I grew up here in Arizona. I was surrounded by students that didn't look like me. And my personal statement for medical school actually revolved around me going to Harlem Hospital, I remember shadowing the infectious disease team and walking into the hospital and seeing so many Black physicians in their like beautiful white coats. And this was like such a like vivid memory for me. So it ended up being what I wrote my personal statement about. So I would certainly recommend it to students, because I think not only is it just great for keeping you motivated and teaching you how to apply and become a competitive applicant, it helps you build a strong sense of community and kind of helps you build connections and just be around other students that are interested in topics similar to yours and that look like you and can relate to you. So I think that's really important. And then advice I would give to students applying. So I think similar to any summer programs you apply to, even when you apply to professional school in the future, just apply early. It's so important. I'm not sure if SMDP is similar to medical school applications, but the more time someone's going to see your application, the more likely you are to be accepted. So I know when I was applying, there was like the 2 separate deadlines, and Josie, I can't remember if they still do that. There's like an early and a later deadline, but
yeah, no priority deadline anymore.
Oh, okay. But I still think applying early is probably important. So just trying to get your materials together as soon as you can and just really using your resources. Josie and all the rest of the PreHealth ambassadors there's such a wealth of knowledge, and they've worked with so many students. So just keeping them close and checking in with them as you build your application.
So a couple notes, you'll hear that the folks previously, like right now, talking about SMDEP. So when they switched and talked about different sites like Duke and Case Western, they were on that list. But then what happened when they expanded it to the other health professions, if they didn't offer pharmacy or offer other health professions, they shut them down. So they don't have Duke anymore or Case Western, but they opened up other ones, right? So, so you'll hear our next speaker, and actually also note is, yeah, Ismael and I think future speakers here have also done Blazer and Global Medcast. So you heard me talk about those other programs. So at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A. So it's not just the freshmen, sophomores, but hey, it started there and then they moved on to other programs. So Margot, oh my gosh, how is it in like Northeastern right now? You're on.
It's been pretty cold. From someone that has lived in Arizona almost all their life, it's cold. Yeah, it's like in the 20 degrees right now. So something that I'm not used to, like, but here I am. Hello everyone, my name is Marco. I graduated from the University of Arizona like 5 months ago. So like literally in May 2021. I graduated with a nutritional science degree and a minor in psychology. And right now I'm in Northeastern, first year of physical therapy school. How did I hear from this program? I remember back in sophomore year where I went up to Josie. I was pretty like stressed because I was going down the medical path. And at that time, I just like decided that like medicine wasn't for me. Like I was pretty stressed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to do physiology anymore. And I went up to Josie to like ask her, like, what should I do? And she was like spitting out like information. I was like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you feel like doing? And then she basically like told me what physical therapy was. I never heard it before in my life. And she's like, you love soccer, you love exercise. Like, why don't you try physical therapy? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And that's how like I heard from Josie. She's like, here, like it's called SHPEP, like PEP. And they just introduced physical therapy for the first time. Like you should apply and like give it a shot. So here I was like applying. I remember I went through the whole application program like process. I applied to Columbia, Western College, and Alabama. Those were the only 3 universities that had physical therapy since it was new. I got into all 3. I didn't know where to pick. And just like Ismael, like I didn't know where Columbia was. And right when I found out it was in Manhattan, New York, I obviously like chose that right away. My best experience, I feel like my best experience would obviously like be like, I feel like for everyone, like the amount of like stipend they gave you. And it was like just to explore New York City. Like I've never been in the East Coast. So like first time seeing New York City, seeing everything was like, it gave me motivation of wanting to do like travel and like basically like even with physical therapy, like I never heard it before, and just basically getting exposure for the first time, shadowing, seeing other people similar, like with similar interests, that like gave me a lot of motivation to like be where I'm at right now. The most challenging aspect, what I would say would be imposter syndrome. So when I got into this program, there was like, I feel like there was like 60, 70 students there. They were all freshman students. They all had high GPAs. They already had previous experience of like medicine, dentistry. And here I was as a sophomore with no experience. I didn't have the best GPA. And that just like honestly like hit me hard with imposter syndrome. I was like, why am I here? Like I shouldn't be here. It was a mistake. Everyone here is like way better than me at everything. Like, I don't know, like that hit me hard. But the biggest advice and the like, I honestly like, I recommend doing this is going to talk to like the advisors from this program And believe it or not, when I did that, one of the advisors was also like the head chairman for like physical therapy there at Columbia. And just being with her one-on-one, she like basically opened up my eyes, gave me motivation, and basically like it gave me the opportunity to believe in myself and like apply for physical therapy and don't get discouraged and everything. And I feel like that is the best advice, like networking, not only with like the other like students there, but also like with the faculty. Because like an example, I have a friend that I met from the program, and he also, when applying for physical therapy school, he also didn't have like the best GPA or like the best experience, but he was one that like networked to everyone in the program. And he got rejected to basically every school that he applied for in grad school, but he also applied for Columbia, which is like one of the best PT programs out there. And the fact that he got accepted into Columbia just shows how important networking is. Cause like they don't really care much about like your grades. Like, yeah, it's important, but if they know you, if they know who you are, how hardworking you are, or like the person that you are, like if they know you on those personal terms, then like that's like the best thing that they look for. And honestly, if you take that like opportunity, you'll get far in life. So
Perfect. Thank you, Marco. Brenda, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda. I am now a second-year medical student, and I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's in physiology. And back in 2015, I participated in SMDP2 along with Ismail and Desiree at Columbia. And when trying to decide which sites to choose from, I basically went based off of geography. I was like, I want to stay near home. I don't really want to venture out. So I selected UCLA and University of Washington, got accepted to UCLA and Columbia. Again, not really knowing where, or I knew where Columbia was, but it was really a stretch. I didn't really know the prestige of it. And I thought to myself, why not just go outside of my comfort zone and give it a shot? And it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, was just, going out of that comfort zone. And in terms of the program itself, as Desiree and Ismail had mentioned, it was just amazing. The people there are exceptional. They're super motivational too. And in terms of the overall best experience I had, aside from the white coat ceremony, which was just beautiful, was really being able to shadow. And one of my opportunities was with an anesthesiologist. Didn't really know about that career field, or not very much at least. And going into it, he told me, okay, scrub up. We're gonna go see open heart surgery. And that to me was just huge. I'd never been in an OR before. And I basically got the front row seat, had a heart right in front of me. They were doing a valve replacement, and it was just incredible. Such an amazing experience. How did I hear about the program? It was through one of these talks, actually. Just listening to other students' stories was, for me, really inspiring. And so I definitely took advantage of that. And my one concern at the time was, okay, I'm interested in participating. I think these programs sound wonderful, but how do I get that letter of recommendation? And so luckily being here is a huge step in the right direction, is just being exposed. And I think with certain communities, especially just minorities in general, a lot of this information isn't relayed. And so just having those networking skills, finding the right people that can help you in your journey is super helpful. So as a first gen student, I definitely was in need of that. So thank you, Josie, for helping us along the way. And then, would you recommend this program? Absolutely, without a doubt. Highly, highly recommend this program. And I think overall, it's just the people you encounter give you so much strength in this journey. And so with the people that I met throughout this program, we still stay in contact, we still visit each other, and it's been some time, it's been 6 years. So that says a lot. And in terms of the challenging part of it was going out of my comfort zone. So I had never really left Arizona or just the Southwest region. And so going to New York was a huge deal without my family, basically going alone, not knowing anyone. And so I'm glad I took that step. And in terms of advice, meet with your pre-health advisor, because this is where those gaps are met, where I don't know what's out there. I don't know what opportunities I should be involved in. This is the time to ask those questions. And they're really just here to support you. I know for myself, when I was applying, I didn't really know what to talk about. So that was a huge gap for myself, where in talking to Josie, she was like, well, you need to talk about this. These are your highlights. This is what makes you unique. So I definitely encourage you to do the same.
And I know we're running out of time, or we ran out of time, and I'm so sorry, but if those that can stay, that'd be great. But we have one more speaker, and actually it's a nice transition. So Roberto, talk about Blazer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roberto. I'm a physiology major, currently my senior year, which means that I'm graduating this semester. So this month I'm graduating. I'm originally from Mexico. I moved here from Mexico 5 years ago to start college here. So I first went to community college, and then I transferred to the U of A. And the program I did was Blazer. I did it like 2 summers back. I did it online, and that's when, like, in the middle of pandemic. And I found out about it just like everyone else found about SHPEP and Blazer. It's just workshops just like this one. I will say that one of my best experiences there was just like making friends with all the other students in the Blazer program, and just like getting to know the faculty too, because the coordinator at that time, I don't know if she's still the coordinator, Viridiana, she was like great, like a great coordinator. She was also a friend. She was really fun to be with, even online. I really like that, and I really enjoyed the company of everybody. I will say that one of the most challenging things about the program is like the lab component, because you have to do research, and I was not really used to research, because like the only thing I knew about it was the the lab section of my science classes, and I didn't feel like being in the lab was one of my strongest asset. However, like after Blazer, I feel like I continue doing research with the same PI, meaning the principal investigator here at the U of A, and I've been doing research with him, just like getting like unit classes from the U of A. And I'm at the point in which I want to apply to medical school, but I'm gonna have a gap year. So I was offered a full-time job as a lab technician at the laboratory that I have been taking like classes and like doing research in. So, and the PI also like told me that he will help me with the whole process, and then write a letter of recommendation for me, and just like help me throughout the process, because he used to be one of the persons who like also like admit the medical students. And I will definitely advise anybody who wants to do research to go to Blazer or Frontera, because you learn a lot about like minorities and like health disparities, and you also have the stipend. You also get 6 units of classes that you can use for your degree, and you have the lab and research experience that you need for applying to medical school or any other like health professions. So I will definitely advise to apply to Blazer, and just make sure that one of the things that you do is think about the letter of recommendation way before you apply, because you want to ask for them. You don't want to ask them like a very last minute and then like rush the letter of recommendation. Maybe you will not get the letter of recommendation that you want. So I think it's great that Josie here is offering you that letter of recommendation right now. So I will definitely take that opportunity into consideration, because that's going to help you a lot when you apply to this program. So thank you.
That's perfect. I know we've run out of time. So what I'd like to suggest is for our panelists, if you wanted to share your information that students could follow up with you, since we don't have any more time? And
Josie, Roberto actually was the perfect segue. I did put in the chat about the survey, so feedback. So I just wanted to call it out in case anybody didn't see in the chat. That is actually how you're going to be able to prove that you came to this event if you would like a letter of rec in the future. So if you didn't see it, the link is in the chat. I'll paste it again after everybody puts their emails. But we do have a couple people who've already filled out the feedback form. And even if you don't think you want or need a SHPEP letter from us, please do fill it out. We really want your feedback about this event and about how to improve it for future students.
Maybe go on for another hour, but I really want to thank everybody for being here, and especially our panelists. You know, you've taken the time out to share your information and help somebody else, and your stories are so compelling. And I really appreciate it. All of us really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us, because every one of your stories are so uniquely different. And everybody who's attending this workshop is going to have a uniquely different experience. And we're here to help you with that. So connect with us, and the emails for our panelists are out there. So reach out to them and then meet with us. And so let us know how we can help you. But I want to thank everybody for being here today. Any last words from the advisors or panelists?
Just one point of clarification. So we can write letters for SHPEP for you if you fill out that form. But if you're thinking about Blazer, Frontera, those other programs, that's not something that we may be able to do unless we know you really well outside of the classroom already prior to this event.
Yeah.
And if you do want a SHPEP letter, when you make an appointment with us, it's going to ask you what you want the appointment to be about. And like I put in the chat, please put like SHPEP letter. So we can contact you ahead of the appointment and just kind of say like, hey, you know, please prep the responses for this or whatever. So we know that it's not just going to be a normal appointment. It's specifically for like a SHPEP interview, essentially.
So work on your applications over winter break. Our appointments probably will go into January. So those letters, but you should be working on your application. Make sure your bursar's account is clear so you can send out those transcripts. And let us know if there's anything else you have questions about, because, you know, this is part of navigating the university and the health profession process. So that's what we're here for. So definitely reach out to us. But thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We could go on for another hour, but gotta cut it off. Sorry. Thank you, everybody.